Welcome back to the vlog. Come watch the Jeep with us. Well, with Matt.
I do have to say, I think, like, I don't know, these floor mats, like literally tread is deep enough that they're a little bit miserable to wash, but like, because this like hasn't had the top off or anything, and like it hasn't been driven a ton of times. This is, I mean, Nathan makes a major mess, but the inside on this one's gonna be way better than the truck. I still wish I would have shown it before, because I don't know if I got the floor on the truck, but like, you know, like everything that needed to try to get out of the truck was going across the kick panel. I think the texturing on this, I don't know, it feels like it's less aggressive actually, because I was gonna say this one I can't get clean. I guess it'll probably eventually happen with the truck too. It seems like it happens with all of it, but I don't know. This has been so full of water so many times, I could probably just say screw it and pressure wash them. But that's like Megan complains about the mud on that thing. And it's like, oh, like, because I don't know. You're supposed to be able to take it off and wash it, because like, look at the dust up on that one. And I'm like, if even the tiniest thing goes wrong, like you shrink them a little tiny bit or something, or anything, like they're like, and then they get all twisted up and weird, I feel like it'd be miserable to put them back on. I'd almost like be more likely to like get a hand shampoo and try to shampoo them where they're at. I don't know. But yeah, the car is the one I'm really not looking forward to, because it has almost just as much gunk with where it's parked tracked into the inside, because the truck, like, it's kind of grass, so you don't track as much in there, because it's, you know, not just mud. And then also it's like, it's on enough of a flat spot, and then it immediately goes downhill, so not as much water settles there, whereas like the car is like right as it starts to level off, so everything running downhill that doesn't have enough momentum to get past that spot. And then like the car kind of left little divots anyways, then those fill with water, then it just soaks in and spreads out. But yeah, like that has almost as much muck in it as the truck, and it has carpet floor mats. And like, unlike in both here and the truck, they're not like designed to contain anything. So yeah, that's just gonna be like packed into the carpet. It'll come out. Those carpets come clean pretty good, at least they have so far. Like, and like I said, as aggressive as the tread on these are, you almost need a toothbrush to get between some of the stuff. And like on the truck, I showed like where it's kind of tough to get around the Ram logo in that one corner. Like, they're nice, but at the same time, like some spots on them are really hard to clean. And since they're designed to collect dirt, they collect dirt and then they're hard to clean. So it's like, yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if they were like off somewhere snowmobiling, because I mean, obviously like there's still a lot of snow around, and they got like too far down and they got to like a spot where the snow wasn't that deep and it was slushy, because that was mud. Like it looked like they went mudding on that snowmobile. It was looked like it was like early 90s, so it isn't like, maybe it's something that they don't care about and they were like playing with it on dirt. Who knows? So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna get the mud wet before I go and grab the bucket of soap and the stool to get on the roof. Because then if I get it wet, it'll be soft. Hopefully it'll come out. Yeah, because if this is as dry as it is, if I just tried to hose it, I'd be here for 20 minutes. So pre-wet it so it softens. It'd be kind of interesting, because that isn't like make something that uses this hole, like cut the, I guess you'd have to be a lot of work to cover the holes that are there, but have something that, like, you know, you stick your fingers up in the hole and yank on like a half circle thing. I hate those little things that are the ones that come down to make mud not do that. But I do have to say, that's the most miserable thing. You don't have to hit really any mud and it gets up there and then drips on your bumper. It's bad for both washing and grinding. Another thing, kind of like the front, it'd be kind of hard to do. It'd be nice if you were able to have those when I first bought this, I had a buddy that had kind of always wanted one, and I took him for a ride. And before we even went outside, like, his wife, they are now divorced, she was like, don't even get in that thing, because there's no way you're getting one. All they are is cold, noisy, rollover prone things that leak. It's like, my top's been off a bunch of times. It's still like once in a while I'll get a little drip here when I'm being, like midsummer, if I take this part of the top off. And it's like, okay, it's midsummer, don't worry about putting the screws in. The leak, like, it's like this corner one's a little tank in. But it's like, the way Jeep heaters are, even if it's not necessarily well insulated, this thing is warmer inside quicker than almost anything I've ever driven. And then, like, you know, in the fact he did get one short of me. Might have been before they got divorced, actually. So. You just want, like, that's like the rollover thing. I think I mentioned when I hit that patch bison base and going, and it just went, like, wiggled a little bit and all the traction and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of the same difference like with the guns thing. You get ignorant people that don't really know anything about them, and then Jeeps get this, like, they just roll over to you, these big guns. It's like, I've seen, I mean, the big Jeeps that are around here, you think, like, every time it's icy, I see at least one roll over, but I've never seen a Jeep roll over. And I've seen loads of cars in front roll over. This is one thing that is bad about this, is, like, you know, almost stuff, like, the mirror touches by the window. So it makes me feel like I'm going out of order when I do the mirror, like, with the window. It's like, it's more on the door than by the window. That's all it took, and it's hot. Like, very, very, very hot. Yeah, because even when it's wet, like, even quartz is wet. What if it's some sort of silt? They'll probably tell me, yeah, geologist. Easily tell me what the reason is. Kind of half tints the tire brush blue too. myself. This has so many tight crevices. It happens on this. Okay, this one is definitely bluer, and that's the last tire, so last shot. Oh my God. Here's another spot where these like bumps on the bumper meet the fog lights. It's like that wide. Not very fun. $56 so far. There's the little chunk of flesh I took out of my finger. But if you either can't or couldn't hear me, or like just couldn't see it, like that gap is one that's miserable. Getting in behind the spare is really miserable. Like I said, you gotta pretty much gotta do the treads. Like that gap's miserable. Like getting in there is kind of miserable. Like, I mean, the way the mirrors and stuff are is pretty miserable. Like this is one of the worst parts. It's down in this. And then up underneath on that. But this is kind of like with the truck. It's kind of funny to have almost 2 hours into them total and have them both be like, well, they're off-road type vehicles. And then it's also about to get the time of year when it's really wet and stuff. So it'd be fun to mud. But also, like, even if you're just like, I'm going to drive it down the road. But yeah, this whole corner is pretty tough. But yeah, this is another thing, like, you can kind of see the crease where this got, like, kinked when it fully got ripped off. But yeah, like, these are in pretty bad shape too, so, like, because I don't know. I don't like the looks of that many of the aftermarket ones. Is part of the reason I haven't been, like, a lot more gung-ho about doing it. So yeah, if, like, you have suggestions, I am open to suggestions. Now I don't have Megan here to grab my shoes, so I'm gonna have to track some stuff in to move it to vacuum, which is mostly gonna be where Nathan tracks stuff in the back. But like the truck, I don't have a good way to prop the phone up while doing that, so toodaloo. Yeah, I guess around the mirrors here is another rough spot, and then since I put those vent shades on there, that kind of is. But this is another thing. You can look right through the back window. That side's not that bad to that stuff Megan wants to get cleaned, but this one's pretty bad. That's probably actually North Dakota mud, to be totally honest with you. I guess if you just plant your feet on the pedals and use them to hold yourself from touching the floor, that works quite good actually, to not make a mess. Yeah, those, and like up underneath that, and like in these tight little crevices around that, and the door hinges. That's some other places that suck. This is what I was mentioning, because there's, when they did the spare, they lost that, and I didn't notice until next time I washed it, like 2 months later. And it's one of those deals where it's like, you know, if you called me and be like, oh, it's been months. It's like, well, I haven't even had the spare off. How would I have lost it? That's kind of one of those, like, I don't trust other people to touch my stuff, but I can't balance. I don't have the tools to balance tires, so I'm stuck. Okay, this one thing that sucks when people talk about these not having room. My tool thing is ever so slightly dented those vents. But it's when something gets in behind it, because it doesn't do it ever, like, hit it all the time, so. Yeah. Here's one piece of beef I have with this thing, and I'm assuming other people have that, where you tumble the seat all the way up where it's like up against the dash, and it does that. If you have that and you figured out a way to stop it without like having to disassemble the seat and like attach this better up underneath, yeah, let me know. Now that I'm having a go at it, I realize that this is even finer. Thus, the microfiber cloth doesn't get in there as good, so that's probably why this one's actually worse. I mean, it is also a 2022 versus a 2014, so this had a lot more time to get messed up. Now that this is drying like up underneath, like, I mean, I can barely get my thumb in there. But yeah, this is one of the other spots I mentioned too. But this is another thing, you can kind of tell it's there, but this was like pushed in like that far from here to here. There's another nice thing, because like I said, with the give, but also part of that give, you can take a heat gun and work it out, because this one was just as bad, and all it really left was that little bit. That's what I was talking about with the floor mats. Like, I mean, that gap's so tight, like, and I think I was in frame enough, like I was scrubbing hard. Yeah, that does suck. Okay, I guess that's another thing, is the this fender flare got torn off at one point and it took the inner fender with it. And I mean, you can tell it's already getting super pitted. It's kind of insane. I mean, I guess had fender for like 2 years, so it's like 2016 probably, or maybe 15, so it's probably only like a year. But it's actually kind of funny, because like with the mud flap thing, I was going to replace them, but you have to get both, and that's like $70. I got this for $65. These clips are like $8 a piece, so between like the ones in there and these ones, because I got this for $65, this for like $28, and then like the clips were almost as much as this fender, because there's, you know, I mean, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, so like they were almost $80. So yeah, I think they were more than this. I think it was like the two things combined, the clip, like it's, yeah, that's another thing that's nice about them, is they're pretty cheap. And with the way that got ripped off, if I'd had like a steel one, it would have shoved in and caved in that whole part. And I don't know, like I've seen aftermarket plasticky ones, and they kind of suck, so it'd either be like start being way more careful or stick with the factory style. This is another bad thing about aggressive tires, like, cause like you can see that mud, a little bit of mud there, like kind of ran down the thing, and it's like depending on what you have to back through to get moved, they can kind of re-dirty. I think I showed that on the truck too. One of those things that sucks, especially if it's dusty. The water will run out from behind those hinges for like a good hour. That's actually another place that's kind of tight. It's in behind that. I think that just dried up soap actually, but like in behind the antenna, because it's like. But yeah, that water will run out of there. Like the door handles. There's a lot of places where water, like as bad as almost everything is, this is way worse for like places where it'll hold water. Like, I mean, like look at, like I mentioned those, and that, and I don't know why they're even covered in plastic. A metal hinge wouldn't look that bad, and those, same exact concept. Bad about this time of year though, even without letting my feet actually touch the mat, except for one tiny spot right there, it stuff just still fell off my shoes. I mean, moisture's nice, so it doesn't, we don't have forest fires, but it makes everything sticky and it sucks. See, and this is another example, like with that being more, like way more road grime than just mud, whereas the tires are mostly just mud. Because, you know, the tire surface is touching the road grime and then kicking it up. That was harder to get clean and fail horribly at than these tires that were covered in mud. Road grime's a horrible thing, like I showed on the TRX, where kind of made those faded spots that need buffed on the tailgate. It's kind of a terrible ordeal. This is kind of another spot that's hard to get clean because that groove's so deep where the top sits down. I thought I did better. Kind of sucks. I start to get kind of wore out, so then like parts I get to towards the end end up not done as good. And a dog hair. Good grief. Dog hair every single place ever.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.